Good morning, world. I am Judy, your web-based therapist, making therapy accessible and convenient for our clients in Florida and New York, and of course, sharing information worldwide. Today, I want to talk about 5 reasons that people use pandering instead of providing the real change when it comes to racial inequities or when it comes to racial justice. And over the last few months, it's been tough. We've had a lot of things happening, and it's been kind of a hot situation. And what usually happens anytime we get into those times where the community really starts to stand up and say, hey, these are the things that we need, we start to see a lot of these acts of pandering because it's easier to do it instead of just, helping create change. So today I'm going to talk about 5 reasons that people use pandering instead of actually addressing racial justice or racial inequities. But before we get into that, I want to take a quick moment and say, if you are subscribed, thank you so very much for being a subscriber. And if you are not yet subscribed, please be sure to click the link below so that you can and subscribe. And of course, make sure you click the bell so that you are notified when I post new videos, which I am doing a little bit more regularly now. And of course, if you would like to buy 1 or 3 of my books, there's a link below that will take you to the website that will show you, that gives you all the options of places that you can get 3 or 1 or 3 of my books. Okay, first, it removes the urgency or that impetus to do something, to make some significant change. When they engage in these little acts of these little things, giving us these shiny little things that mean nothing, when they do that, to them, it feels like, hey, we gave them something. Or to some people, it shows that, hey, we gave them something. Therefore, they don't have that urgency because it feels like it says that, hey, we acted or we responded to your demand. We responded to your cry. We responded to your request, even though the response was an absolute nothing. It takes away the urgency because when the community really stands up, as you saw recently, when there were protests just about every day for several weeks. People started to feel like, hey, we need to do something. We need to do something quick. We need to act. And we started to see a lot of these acts of pandering happening, a lot of these little shiny things that they started throwing at us that really did not address the issue. So it removes that urgency to do something because it shows that, hey, we did something shiny and pretty. 2, it distracts from what is happening or what is being asked for. If you notice, whenever these people would engage in these acts of pandering, the conversation often shifted from what was going on to what they did. For instance, when Congress did that, all the news cycles were talking about it. Everyone was talking about those things that they did. And that's one of the things that they get out of it. That's one of the, I guess one could say that one of the motivators for doing it, because it stops people from talking about, hey, these people are shouting, are protesting, are talking, are asking for racial justice, are asking for racial equity, are asking for whatever. It's that they get to stop the conversation from being about what we're going through. They want to stop the conversation from being about what we're asking for. And now they start to make the conversation about what they're doing with their shiny, pretty little things that mean nothing. But it's a distraction. And sometimes, unfortunately, it works. But still, it is a way to distract from what is happening. It's a way to get people to stop talking about the real issue and start talking about whatever it is that they did. 3, it's a good way to shift the roles. Pandering can sometimes help shift the role where it vilifies the victims and sometimes even canonizes the perpetrator. It makes, when they get into these things and you're seeing, hey, they've done this, they've done that, they've done 37 different things to respond to these demands. They've done 40 different things. We had a meeting, we had a talk, we had a blah, blah, blah. But none of it actually addressed what we talked about. None of it actually did anything to resolve the issue. But now, because they are doing so many shiny little things and having so many different press conferences and ribbon cuttings and all these things that says they did nothing, but because they're making a big deal out of it, people start to think that, hey, they're doing so much and you guys are still demanding, you guys are still not satisfied, you guys are still not, you guys keep this up, you guys are still asking for more. We're not asking for more. We're just asking for what we asked for. But because they were so good at giving us shiny things publicly and making a big deal out of it, it can make people think that, hey, something was done. It's a great way to shift the roles and vilify the victims and canonize the perpetrators. 4, there are no consequences. There are absolutely no consequences for pandering. People come out and they do these ridiculous things. They ignore our wishes. They ignore our needs. They ignore our demands. They ignore our pains. They ignore what is happening to us. And then they give us these shiny little things and do all these, and they engage in these acts of pandering, and nothing happens. At the end of the day, we're still talking to them. We're still dealing with them. We're still electing them. We're still doing business with them. We're still participating in their organizations. We're still engaging. They've done whatever it is that they did. They dismissed us. They ignored us. They trivialized us. And we're still hanging out. We're buddies. Too often, we let these things go. There are no consequences. People know that after they engage in these acts of pandering, some people will think it was something, and some people will get super excited about it. But even the ones that realize that it was nothing, there's not a lot of times nothing happens. If when a company thought, instead of addressing a real racial issue, instead of addressing a real inequity, instead of addressing a real situation involving racial injustice, if instead of addressing the issue, they pandered to us, they did something ridiculous, if every time it happened, we decided, okay, you don't value us, you don't take us seriously, then we're not going to value you and we're not going to take you seriously. And we're going to do that for good. Then they would start to get it. But unfortunately, that's not how it happens. They will engage in these little silly things. Some of us will get upset. Some of us will get excited. And then at the end of the day, not much happens. They get to go on. It gets to be business as usual. The customers come back. The voters come back. They get reelected. The business goes back to normal. So what's the point? There was really no point in them even thinking or working on or even trying to create any level of change because, hey, this little shiny thing worked. 5, some people actually fall for it. That's another reason that people use pandering instead of actually working towards change. Because a lot of times they engage in these little shiny little things, acts, and people fall for it. People I get it. They make a big deal out of their little non-gestures, their little acts that signify absolutely nothing. They make a big deal out of them. So people fall for it. And because people keep falling for it, if we're all getting up and saying, hey, we want this change, we want this company to treat employees right, we want to make sure that we're not mistreated when we do business with this company, we want to make sure that we have the same chances of getting hired as anyone else with the same qualifications. If every time we ask for something and people gave us one of those little shiny things and engage in one of these acts of non-action, we actually continued to push. We actually continued to make our demands until we got the change. Then there would not be as much of an incentive. But unfortunately, some people do fall for it. And because too many people fall for it, a lot of times the change we need does not get to happen because, hey, the movement stopped. The momentum was dropped because somebody said, hey, we got a pretty thing, so we're satisfied. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. One, it removes the urgency to act or the impetus to actually get up and make some significant change. Two, it distracts from what is happening or what is being asked for because now the conversation is about whatever it is they're doing. Three, it's a good way to shift the role and vilify the victim and sometimes even canonize the perpetrators because it shows that, hey, we're doing all these things to help you guys. We're doing all these things for you and you guys are not appreciating and you guys continue to ask. Four, there are no consequences. Anytime they engage in these little silly acts of pandering, it happens. Maybe we get upset, maybe we ignore it, but at the end of the day, it goes back to business as usual. There's absolutely no consequence for pandering, so why not do it? Five, a lot of people still fall for it. People keep falling for it. And when people fall for it, they drop their request, they drop their demand, the momentum stops, and, you know, hey, they stopped asking, so why are we going to continue giving it to them, right? All right. As always, if you or someone you know happens to be going through something that's more than you can handle, please remember that even when things are very chaotic right now, there are professionals like myself who are providing remote services and are available, able, and willing to help with whatever it is you may have going on. So please make sure you figure out who those people are in your community so that if you need the help, you can reach out and get the help that you need. And that is all we have for today. Good morning, world. Have an awesome day.